Hey everyone, this is Phil
And Lula
of the Capes and Lunatics podcast.
You're listening to Into the Night,
The Moon Knight podcast.
Yes, welcome back, loony listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast. This is episode 198, and you are with your High Priest of Khonshu Rey. Hello, and it is a waxing gibbous up in the night sky. Have a look. It's the end of the week, and yes, there is that gibbous shining in your face. That means we are doing an Other Side of the Moon segment, and we'll be looking at West Coast Avengers Annual Volume 1, Issue 2, and returning at the end of the week with me is Valley Petruni, guest co-host and ITK scribe, Justin The Owl Osgood. Justin, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Ray. Thanks for having me again.
No worries. It's always a pleasure. Always good fun having a good old chat. A big big thank you to the likes of yourself, Justin, to our gracious patroonies, those co-producers and executive producers on each of the episodes. You too can become a patroonie as well if you check out our Patreon page. A big thank you to Daniel, Justin, yourself, Derek, Wayne, Jordan, Josh, James, Russell, and Anthony. Also, a big shout out to our sponsors, Fringe Knight by Daniel Doing, an original indie comic based on Erie, Pennsylvania's very own mysterious superhero. Hello Headphones, empowering gamers to play at their best. And, of course, Dreamland Comics, the superhero superstore. So, Justin, we have a cracker of an issue to get through here. So, as mentioned at the top of the show, West Coast Avengers Annual Volume 1, Issue 2, Death and Texas. Justin, this was your choice. Any particular or anecdotal reasons why this one was chosen?
Well, kind of a little bit. I remember one of our last chats, we talked about fantasy team-ups, and I think that you mentioned the Black Knight very briefly in passing. And that was kind of what triggered my memory about this issue. I was like, oh, well, we should talk about that sometime, because that has a fantastic scene with Moon Knight and the Black Knight. So that was kind of what started that thought of possibly chatting about this. But I definitely wanted to talk about something to do with the West Coast Avengers, for sure. Yeah.
This complements our chat earlier in the week really well with our chat on Tigra, her involvement with Moon Knight in the West Coast Avengers. So I know we spoke about Steve Englehart. This is a Steve Englehart penned annual, and it actually it forms part one of, I think the second part, right, goes into the Avengers Annual 16.
Yes.
I haven't read that though, so I don't know how it ends. But this is a really good self-contained one, anyway.
It is, and you should definitely read the second part when you get a chance. That one's. I think it's even better than this one. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I must say, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because you get all of these Avengers basically fighting a bunch of dead villains, the Legion of the Unliving.
Even better.
So you get Dracula in there, and you get it's fantastic.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, this was released. This is the first part of Death in Texas. This was released September 1987. And we have writer Steve Englehart, penciler Al Milgrom. He does the inks as well. Colorist Gregory Wright, letterer Tom Orzechowski, and editor Mark Gruenwald. Now, this is available in floppy format. It's in digital. It's in Marvel Unlimited. I'm going to be reading it from the trade. So it's in the Avengers West Coast. Yeah, it's really cool. It's in the Avengers West Coast Epic Collection, Volume 3. So that's titled Tales to Astonish. And the front cover of it is actually the front cover of the annual. So,
right, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so the front cover of all the Avengers laying to waste, and the West Coast, or the wackos looking at
the wackos.
Them. Now, for the listeners that don't know, what Justin and I will do, after having mentioned the credits as well, we're going to go through a bare bones, which is like a rough summary of what was in the annual, and then we're both going to go into our various aspects of it. So talking about writing, art, themes, characterizations, and references. And we'll cap all this off with a moon rating. So, Justin, I might as well ask now, what rating system will you be choosing tonight?
I think I'm going to go with Connor. Okay. Connor Shoe's rating. Yeah.
Excellent. I love Connor Shoe's rating system, but I'm gonna have no one is picking the vanilla one, so I'll pick it just for point of difference.
Oh, okay.
For today.
Okay.
Yes. So I haven't discussed this with you, Justin, as well. But would you be so kind as to let the fair listeners know of the bare bones?
Oh, sure. Let me. East Coast versus West Coast Avengers in a nice old game of softball. But of course, someone has to crash the party. The East Coast and West Coast teams have gathered for their annual softball game. Suddenly, the Silver Surfer arrives with the warning that one of the Elders of the Universe plans to murder the Avengers. What follows is a contest of champions. It's the East Coast Avengers, Captain America, Thor, Wasp, She-Hulk, Dr. Druid, Captain Marvel, and Black Knight versus the West Coast Avengers, Hawkeye, Iron Man, Wonder Man, Tigra, Moon Knight, Mockingbird, and Hank Pym, and the heroes' very souls are the prize.
Yes, thank you so much, Justin. That was it, and that pretty much wraps it up in a nutshell. It's a throwdown, basically, which is so much fun.
Yeah.
But there's also a little bit happening with the Grandmaster and the Collector, which for me is the less interesting because I just love the fact that they go up against each other. The ecos and the wackos.
The ecos.
Yes. It's a weird
the
name.
ecos.
Yeah. Now, before anything, Justin, I guess overall impressions. What did you think of this issue?
I really liked it. At the time, I actually read the second part of this story first, the Avengers Annual. So, I came across the West Coast one years later. So I actually had no idea what happened in the first part of the story.
Right.
It was just flashback references in the Avengers Annual. So it was really fun to read the first half finally years later and figure out what happened.
I'm assuming it is not detrimental, right? When you had read the second part, because they do recap a bit, don't they? Back in the day.
Yeah, definitely. There's a recap, and it's not essential to get both.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really enjoy this as well. I mean, as always with with many comic book issues of its time, it is of its time, but there's you can take that a good or bad way. This is very much taken, I think, in a good way. It's just a lot of fun. One of the notes I already put in there was that, I don't know, everyone seems a lot more jollier,
They do.
It's then they do. There's no edge to everyone. They really are just comic characters, and so it was fun to see. And I mean, I guess we'll kind of get to it later on. But yeah, overall, I really did enjoy it. I thought the beginning was a great premise, and then I think the subsequent chapters really did kind of divide this annual up into a very kind of compelling read.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I guess out of the aspects, Justin, or first things, what would you like to chat about with this issue first?
Well, let's talk about the writing.
Yeah.
The plot and the dialogue and all that stuff. What did you think of Steve Englehart's script on this one?
Yeah, I thought it was good. Like similar to, I guess, what I previewed just a bit earlier there. I love the way that he's framed it, he's structured it. So he does actually divide it into chapters. But what we get at the beginning, though, which is really cool, is a precursor, and it's almost like a parallel to what is to come. So the ecos and the wackos are playing softball, very kind of casual, and it's kind of almost tongue in cheek. And I was smirking the whole way because they're playing softball, but in their uniforms. I mean, they could have just changed, like, you know. And Thor's using his hammer as a bat.
Yeah,
yeah.
He's hitting his softball with Mjolnir and sending it flying into the stratosphere.
And I don't envy Black Knight. I mean, having to run between bases. I mean, you know, chainmail, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so that was really fun. But that kind of parallels with what's to come, where they do face off each other, the East Coast and the West Coast. So I like that, and I like how, you know, the second and third act, so to speak, each of the chapters is really dedicated to the matchups, the throwdowns. So you get to really concentrate on the two characters, and with it comes great characterization, I think. In a short space of time, you get to see stuff about Wonder Man and Thor in particular. You get a sense of how Simon Williams perceives himself, that sort of thing, you know, how he is. You get the likes of Mockingbird and Captain America. She's obviously going up against a legend, but she's trying. She's trying these different things to beat. So I love all that, and of course Moon Knight and Black Knight. I mean, we'll get to that. That's probably something that we should savor. But really cool, like really good. I think telling of different, and of course Hawkeye and She-Hulk. I mean, who would have thought?
Oh, I know. Yeah, that was a great one too.
So
and Captain Marvel versus Iron Man. I mean,
that was very
fantastic.
Cool. Because I was thinking, how the hell can Iron Man beat Captain Marvel? I mean, she's living energy. Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
But how about you? What did you think of the writing?
I liked it a lot. I really love Steve Englehart's writing, just in general. And I love, too, how even in the fight scenes, there's never like a lull in the dialogue. It just keeps going. Even when he was writing Fantastic Four, sometimes I used to chuckle because during all of the battle scenes, there would be some conversation going on between all of the heroes, and sometimes it wasn't even related to what they were doing. Sometimes it was just something to do with something else completely different. But I really like the script here, and it has a good flow to it. It keeps everything running really well. There's proper tension where there needs to be. Yeah. What did you think? Great cliffhanger at the end, too.
Yeah. But what did you think of? I guess and I guess it was necessary, the injection of the Silver Surfer in here, and the whole the grander scheme of things, the Grandmaster and the Collector. Was that?
I liked. Yeah. I liked that. It was kind of a surprise to see the Elders of the Universe getting brought into this story. I think that Steve Englehart was writing Silver Surfer also at the time.
Okay.
Unless I'm mistaken. And the Elders of the Universe were a big deal then in that series. They were kind of the primary, both antagonists and protagonists, I think, for some of the stories there. So it was great to see them. And, of course, everybody who knows the MCU now knows of the Grandmaster and the Collector from the films. Yeah. So it's cool to see them in their original comic forms after seeing them in the films recently.
Yeah. I think it was really good as well. The only thing I was questioning was, so this was very, like, it mentioned it in that bare bones that you read out, Justin. It was very much like a contest of champions in itself. And the original, like the miniseries Contest of Champions had already been, because we get an editor's note down here. I think Moon Knight, of all people, kind of mentions it. So yeah, I don't know. I just wondered, like, it's fun reading this like in isolation as well. But I wonder, like, during the time when people were reading it, it's like, hang on, haven't we just seen this sort of thing? But I don't know. That was just a weird point, I think. It is a fun story, but maybe that's what the Collector and the Grandmaster always do. I mean, they always pit heroes against each other. This time it was just Avengers going against each other. I found shocking, like writing-wise, and it's just, I don't know, I kind of laughed a little. Just after the softball match, like all the Avengers just die. Like they're in the they're in the, what you call it, the pit or the bunker,
dugout.
The dugout. That's it.
Dugout, yeah.
And they're just dead. It's like, what? Like, that's a bit morbid.
Yeah. That was the part I found weird too about this. When I first read it, I laughed as well. It's like just all of a sudden you look over and they're all dead in the dugout. I was like, what? That escalated quickly.
That did. Oh my god. And then, I mean, so it's really weird. I mean, I love it. I love the imagination Steve Englehart does in the this telling of the story, but just very weird. I mean, also as well, in order for the Wackos to save the Avengers, they meet up with the Collector and he gives them a poison, and they all kill themselves. I mean, so interestingly enough, though, who is it? Is it Firebird? Esperita?
Esperita, yes, that was the name she was going by then, but I think originally she was Firebird.
Yeah, but she's not affected at all by that serum, which is interesting. So she gets left behind, and we're left in the underworld eventually, where again we get this throwdown between basically a miscommunication, right? That's the whole premise. There's a miscommunication or just deceiving. So Collector has told the Wackos one thing, saying that you've got to fight them to bring them, because they don't want to get out of there. And then I think Grandmasters told the Avengers, "Oh look, you've got the West Coast coming. They're going to want to fight you to, I don't know, to you should fight back, basically." So
right, yeah,
that's the setup. But but really cool.
It's a bunch of good deception by the part of the Grandmaster. He says, you must subdue them or their lives will be lost beyond recall. So he's definitely spinning a good yarn for them. Yeah,
and so they're both thinking they're doing what's best for the other, but in the end, they just get to fight against each other. And so the art. I'm going to jump into the art. What did you think of the art here?
I think I have to agree with you. It's not really Al Milgrom's best. But I wonder too if that was because, annuals, and how many pages is this? This is 64 pages, and pretty much the whole thing is there aren't any backups in this. So the whole story. So it could have been that there was a time crunch here, and he kind of rushed some of it, because some of the artwork does look a little rushed in places, but. I always liked Al Milgrom's artwork, and especially his inking. I felt like some of his inking was really great, especially in Captain America. And I think he's also a great writer as well. Unless I'm mistaken, he wrote that whole story, the Round Robin, the Sidekick's Revenge in Amazing Spider-Man, which is still one of my favorite Moon Knight stories. So I really like Al Milgrom. This might not have been his best, though.
And I'm a big fan of his as well. It's interesting that you mentioned about his inking, because I thought maybe that was the reason. Maybe because he does ink it. Because doesn't he usually or sometimes had teamed up with Joe Sinnott? I'm not too sure.
Joe Sinnott, and
he's fantastic.
Mike McClellan or Macklin. In West Coast Avengers 2 for a while was inking him, and that was a good match. So I don't know, but I mean, you're right. Maybe definitely annuals. There's, I guess, less at stake with annuals. It seems. I mean, I've read many annuals that don't seem up to scratch like visually, and don't seem up to scratch. So I'm wondering whether it's tight time frames, stuff like that. It could have been. And this was also back before there were those huge crossovers that took place over the annuals. This was, I think, the year right before that all happened. I think the Evolutionary War was the first one. And then after that, Atlantis attacks and so on and so forth. So this was kind of in that brief period where there weren't these massive crossovers that took up all the annuals every summer.
Yeah. I mean, but having said that, though, as well, the art, there are some really inspired panels. I'm just having a flick through here. One of my favourites, again, I had to kind of like smirk a little, as towards the beginning, I think it's when the wackos meet up with the Collector, and they literally kind of go into a group huddle, and so you get this perspective of them looking up. You're looking up at their faces.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. Yeah,
it's just funny. I don't know. Again, this kind of gives me this feeling that everything's, I don't know, a little bit more jolly. A
little more lighthearted.
A little more lighthearted in it. Yeah. So yeah, but there's also the fights are really good. Some of them are really well orchestrated. There's a scene where Thor throws Mjolnir at Wonder Man, and he's kind of zapped. His ionic energy. It looks like he's dispersed or something, but it's really cool because they're big titans, as Simon Williams says. But yeah, then you get like again, not to be too picky on this thing, but then you get the fight between Mockingbird and Captain America, and yeah, much of it is like those twisty vines, and so you lose a bit of the background. And yeah, I don't know. I think maybe that was like a technique to kind of not have to do much background.
I think you're right. Yeah. Because if you look at these panels, they are pretty sparse as far as everything that's going on. Yeah. And I think again that's probably due to the fact that it might have been a time crunch issue.
Yeah.
Because if you look at some of the other panels too, some of the backgrounds are very sparse or non-existent. There's sometimes just plain white or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes, that can be used to a good effect, but there are times when you do look at it going, maybe it was a time issue. Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm looking at Chapter 5 with the Silver Surfer and Death. Just some pink hues there. But yeah, I don't know. Anything else with art there, Justin?
Another thing I didn't really care for was the page where, in Chapter 5, where Silver Surfer goes to meet Death, just his eyes,
Oh, really big, right?
Yeah, the way that his eyes were drawn isn't doing it for me.
Yeah.
So that's another criticism I have is
I noticed
Silver Surfer doesn't really look right to me.
No, you're right. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so there's some, but I think overall, none of this really detracted from the overall enjoyment of the issue. I guess, if anything, if you're looking at the arts, I really love in at least this reproduction, the colours are really good. Just you get a really nice mix. I mean, even the look of, I'm looking at the Moon Knight, the Black Knight interaction. Even when all the Avengers are together, there's a nice array of colours there, which make it look really nice. Down for themes, it's kind of like a setup anyways. Well, I'm assuming, Justin, the second part a little bit more is explained, or is it really just as capricious as the Grandmaster and Collector just manipulating the Avengers?
Well, the Grandmaster's real scheme was to beat Death.
Oh, that's right.
And
of course,
that's kind of what you see
at the end
in the second half.
Oh, okay.
More them trying to basically one up him. And I won't spoil how they do it, but you'll love it. You'll love the twist at the very end where they finally get one up on him. But it goes in the themes of deception in this story definitely get carried over to the next volume. And actually get used against the Grandmaster. So that's...
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, It's a great script.
Well, I'm very fortunate, because this epic collection I'm holding, it goes straight into Avengers Annual 16 after it. So
great.
You get the nice two-parter happening, which is cool. I can see the cover
and
already. That looks good. Sorry?
Yeah, in the second part, too, you get different artists for each chapter.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it briefly now. Yeah, you do. I notice the Thor one looks very different.
There's Bill Sienkiewicz is in there.
Oh.
And Kevin Nowlan, actually, too. I think my favorite chapter was illustrated by Kevin Nowlan.
Okay. Cool.
That's
that
one
looks...
with Dracula,
Oh, Dracula.
Yeah.
That looks so cool. Oh, yeah, I'm definitely going to read that one afterwards. That looks
cool.
good.
Great. Yeah, you'll enjoy that one. Yeah.
Yeah, but okay. So the theme is the Grandmaster wants to beat death, but I guess the most part for this issue, you see it at the end. It's kind of revealed a little at the end, but most part, this is just a fun kind of matchup between the heroes.
Yeah.
So underlying tones. There's this thing. I guess what was it? There was some of these matchups. I mean, certainly the one that I keep on going back to is the Thor Wonder Man one, where Simon Williams is a lot more confident. And actually, we should mention, I think this is the first time we see him in the new costume, right? He mentions it. Yeah.
I think you're right, because before that he had the green one.
The green one, yeah. He still had the jetpacks, but this is I love this one, the red and black one. Yeah.
Me too. I think that one's my favorite,
Yeah, and I think in this instance, he's got a lot more confidence about him. I mean, he's going up against Thor, but he really is, like, he's calling himself, I'm immortal too. He's saying, what does he say?
He says, nothing stops the Man of Wonders now.
Yeah. He's beaten Ultron, stuff like that. Yeah, so it's really cool to get that sense of it. But Thor is just quite level-headed. He goes about it. There's this thing.
Thor's still rocking the 80s beard, too.
He is, yeah. I thought it was Eric Masterson at one stage, but no, it was a bit too early for that. The one I found interesting as well, Dr. Pym and the Wasp. There's a bit happening there because, the on again, kind of off again thing. His treatment of her. Basically, I kind of liked it. He gets zapped in the face, full force. Actually, I thought that would have done him, but he actually hasn't. He beats her, and the thing to take away here is that they know each other so well. That's how they kind of fight. You can kind of see it, and so I love how Englehart integrates this in. Like everything that Wasp, she gets him. She kind of dupes him because she knows him, but he does the same to her as well.
They play off each other's kind of weaknesses, sort of, without going too far over the edge.
Yeah. Shall we then talk about? I mean, for loonies out there who want to talk or hear about Moon Knight's involvement, there is a big one here, Chapter 9.
Yeah.
Moon Knight versus Black Knight.
Yeah.
This is pretty cool. What did you think?
I liked this a lot. This was definitely, of course, the highlight for me for the issue. Yeah. It was a great fight for both characters, I think.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see Moon Knight using the Egyptian arsenal more.
Yes, I liked it as well.
Because we don't really see that a whole lot. And so when he gets the axe out and stuff, I thought that was great. It was a great little duel between the two of them.
It's got a little satchel at the back. He makes mention that Hawkeye, because we know from earlier in the run, Hawkeye designed his weapons in that whole Lost in Space Time arc, which is pretty cool. But he's trying it all. So he's got these funky gadgets / artifacts or relics. But, of course, the cursed ebony blade is a pretty powerful tool. And Moon Knight, Moon Knight says he's so Khonshu. Hawkeye may have done his part with my weapons, but you forgot to make him magic. One-on-one, I can handle this guy, but how do I get past a crazed piece of steel? And that pretty much sums it up.
Definitely, yeah.
So he turns to deception, which is pretty cool. And I love this. So what happens, Moon Knight starts to use his cape. He starts to almost looks spectral. He covers himself
like a ghost,
as a ghost, as Black Knight just demolishes every weapon that Moon Knight has. He cleaves the axe, and he comes at Moon Knight. And it should be told as well that Dane Whitman is at the whim of the sword as well.
Correct.
So he's not like he's bloodthirsty, but somehow sometimes he does get a bit that way.
Yeah.
And so he stabs Moon Knight, and I should kind of isolate this panel. It's a cool panel. He stabs him, and you go, "Oh my god, what's happened?" But then he
lunged into the blade. Yeah,
he lunged into the blade. He tucked it under his arm, and then he just ponks Black Knight with the Ankh or whatever it is, and defeats him. And I thought, yes, hell yes, this is Moon Knight. Using his mind rather than just physical, because he can't physically beat that blade. So,
right.
Yeah, so I think that was really cool. I was very glad to see Moon Knight won, because let's face it, it becomes a tied affair, right? The Ecos win just as much as the Wackos up until the end.
True, that is true. Yeah.
So
it's definitely not a one-sided victory on any side.
No, not at all. So, just for the record, going back, Iron Man beats Captain Marvel, so that's a West Coast 1. Then we have Captain America beats Mockingbird. I guess that was always going to happen, but she put up a really good fight.
She did extremely well against Captain America. Yeah,
she actually manages to take the shield away from him.
Yeah,
but in doing so, her oversized sleeves, that's a problem. Her oversized sleeves got caught in thorns. Yeah.
I know. Yeah, should have ripped those off before.
She should have
chasing him into the thorn bush.
Exactly. So that's 1-1, and then Dr. Pym beats the Wasp. So that's again up the Wackos, 2-1. Then we have Thor beating Wonder Man 2-2.
Yeah.
Then this Tigra Dr. Druid was an interesting one.
Yeah, that was another really interesting one, because these are both characters that were kind of seen as not the weakest members of their respective teams, but I suppose in some regard you could look at it that way.
Yeah.
I love it. Neat little duel.
They did. I enjoyed it, but I love the fact that Tigra's senses, she just trusted her senses, and that caused her to almost defeat Dr. Druid. Because he tries everything but the kitchen sink, but he manages to use telekinesis at the end. So what she thinks is an illusion is actually real, snags her tail, and in the confusion he controls her mind. So that is, I think we're up, what is that? We're up 4-2 or something?
Yeah.
East Coast. Yeah. Moon Knight beats Black Knight, so 4-3. The West Coast are coming back.
And then the great Hawkeye versus She-Hulk battle.
That was so cool. I love this because
so
She-Hulk is unstoppable, right? Like, she's a force. Like, he shoots these explosive arrows at her, and she's just like standing there, going, okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. And then she grabs his bow and breaks it, grabs his arrows and breaks it.
Yeah. What else can you do? And I love it. Hawkeye, feats, do your stuff. I mean, he's still kind of
now you're making me mad.
yeah. But this was a great fight. I liked it. Again, it shows the wiliness of Hawkeye. Not only that, he starts to make a bow and arrow from some some bamboo or reeds just close by, and he manages to shoot one off. He's got one shot with a shaft, so he throws some explosive ones. But he ends with a gas arrow as Jennifer Walters comes up for air, basically gets her. So
gets a whole lung full of gas. Yeah.
Yeah. So is that? Have we got that right there? Hawkeye says 4-3. So maybe I got that wrong. Yeah, 4-3. The Wackos.
No, you're right.
Yeah, 4-3. So
yeah.
So pretty cool there.
Another thing I liked too was the banter between Moon Knight and Black Knight.
Oh, good. Yeah, for sure.
When, because I guess this was before Moon Knight had joined the Avengers.
Always on the outer. Yeah.
Because Black Knight says to him, "You're the only one here who's not an Avenger, Moon Knight. I don't know why you came."
It's so mean. He's so...
I know, yeah, jeez.
Moon Knight, yeah, I am.
Yeah. And then, but Moon Knight gets him back. He goes, "Unless you talk me to death first."
Yeah,
I love
that's
that.
right.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
Yep. Again, it's actually a good example of how Moon Knight, he does have humor.
He does,
now and again, just not over the top, which sometimes he's written as, but generally dry. In this Englehart run, anyway, as we said, everyone's kind of lighthearted anyway. Mm-hmm. But yeah. What is it? You sound as bound to the night side as I am. Yeah, this ought to be interesting. Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, no, so he's very good. He throws his boomerangs. He's got his darts. He tries everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I liked his interpretation in this. Is he much in the Avengers 16?
In the next gen, yeah. There's a great
cool.
I think, who is it that he goes up against? The Green Goblin, I think, and Death Adder.
Oh, wow.
I think are the two villains that he fights.
Oh, cool.
So, that's fantastic. Next one.
Yeah, nice. I mean, I don't know, any other final notes for this issue? The one thing we've mentioned already I like to call out is I love this terminology Englehart is wanting to use with the East Coast, the ecos and the wackos.
Oh, the ecos and the wackos.
Yeah, so listeners, you may be wondering, what the hell ecos is. East Coast Avengers.
Yeah.
But
a very short-lived little nickname. I think
never used.
Never used past the Englehart era.
Yeah.
This annual is also great because you get to see a lot of 80s Marvel stuff. Like you get to see Iron Man in his Scarlet Centurion armor. As I said before, you get to see Thor with the beard from fresh from his adventures in Asgard. The very short-lived heroism of Dr. Druid.
Yeah, he didn't really last, did he? Very kind of
no, yeah,
kind of plain.
Yeah, and then of course the great Monica Rambeau is in this as Captain Marvel.
Yeah, she's great. I like that first tussle. That was really cool. And how actually, so just calling again the level of thought that Englehart puts in this. So living energy, right? So Iron Man can't do anything against living energy. But there's a quip that he mentions, like, I control energy or something, and you're made out of energy. So you get a nice range. So Captain Marvel, she turns into magnetic, I guess, energy, and she tries to capture Iron Man there. But he's got this electronic force field to counter magnetism. He goes, you are energy, but I make energy work for me. And she says, a mechanical suit must have a limit, though pure energy doesn't. I just love this exchange that they both have. And in the end, his suit absorbs energy, so he manages to absorb everything that she's shooting at him. And
direct it back to her,
so he eventually defeats her that way. So, very, very kind of smart ways. Englehart really does think about how these characters can defeat each other.
Yeah, you can tell a lot of forethought went into this issue about deliberately which Avengers to put up against each other and who would win and why. It was very, very deliberate, and a lot of attention and care went into those decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, unless we have anything else here, Justin, I reckon we should give this a rating.
Sure, that sounds great.
I'll let you go first. I might actually adjust my rating. But what would you give this West Coast Avengers Annual Volume 1, Issue 2, Death and Texas?
I think I would give this one an 8.
Lovely.
Yeah, I really like this one a lot.
Big Beautiful Yellow Man. There you go.
Yellow Man.
Thank you, Khonshu's rating system. The Big Beautiful. But that's very highly regarded. That's a big score.
I think actually I would give the second, the Avengers Annual, a 9. Because I liked that one more.
Oh man, I'm going to read that one. Yeah.
But I really enjoyed this one a lot. I think it would have gotten higher marks if not, like I said, for the art. It was a little bit of a letdown on the art side. But other than that, I think I probably would have given it a lower score too if Moon Knight hadn't won. If he hadn't won his duel, I probably would have given him at a 5 or a 4.
I'm certain. 5 or 4. That's a bit harsh. I certainly love the fact that he won. Look, I like Black Knight as well, but it's certainly I'd have to say that I was very happy. Let's just say that Moon Knight came on top in that instance. Yeah, great. So 8 out of 10, a Big Beautiful Yellow Man. With the vanilla rating system, I bumped mine up actually just from our chat because I really did enjoy this, Exactly as you said though, I think the art, a few marks had to be taken off, which I find is quite strange because sometimes I bump up marks because the art is good if the writing isn't. So in this instance, it's the other way around. Yeah, I mean, nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with the art. That's only because I know of Al Milgrom's other works, so you can kind of put it into context and make it. So 7.5. It's still pretty good. Basically,
that's a good score.
Yeah, a 3/4 million because I just really enjoyed it. Those 60 pages kind of like flew by for me.
It is kind of a breeze. It does. When I was reading it last night, I was surprised at how quickly.
And I guess. I put that down to that structure again. I mean, that softball match at the beginning, a bit of a setup, and then just these chapters, which you can see as bite-sized pieces. Really did enjoy it. And it's made me kind of interested in, more so what you've been saying about Avengers issue 16, Avengers Annual issue 16. It makes me want to really read the next part. And these are only 2 parts. I mean, so... Yeah. Technically, it's like about a 4-part series because it's about 60 pages, right? And I'm assuming Avengers are 60. So it's a pretty tight. It's a pretty tight story.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said too, I think to be honest, I think I gave this a high rating too because of sentimental reasons. I mean, this is like I said in the annuals before the big crossovers hit. And so there was a very brief time where that was the case. The annuals were just usually self-contained stories that didn't go beyond the annual, or if they did, they cross over to another Avengers Annual in this instance. But it wasn't a big 10 or 12 part storyline. And I not that I didn't enjoy the Evolutionary War or Atlantis Attacks, because I definitely did, but it was nice to see those smaller scale stories too.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. Yeah. No, I do. I just like. I think a variety is really good. The problem now, with every big event being just constant and just across everything. It's good to have the smaller stories for sure.
Yeah.
Finally, as well, we do actually have a bit of late feedback here from Russell. Host of Tomes of Evil. Russell sent in some audio feedback, so I'm just going to play that now.
Okay.
Hello, loony listeners and fellow ITK scribes. This is Russell from the
Tomes of Evil,
and I am phoning in to give you my thoughts on West Coast Avengers Annual number 2. First off, I love the baseball game at the beginning, or softball game, I guess is technically what it was, but absolutely hilarious seeing these guys play softball, and they asked Moon Knight why he didn't join in, and he basically says, I would if it was nighttime. So this is mostly a slugfest. It reminds me a lot of the Avengers and Defenders War, except it's all in one issue. and it was great. It was a lot of fun, mostly just fighting, obviously. But yeah, I would. Mooney wasn't in it too much, and they kept for some reason saying he wasn't an Avenger, which I thought was strange. But maybe he's not at this point. But anyway, he gets a big victory in this story. He manages to beat the Black Knight, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, I enjoyed this issue, and looking forward to hearing your all's thoughts on it. So, Ray and the Owl, it was good to send in some feedback and check me out on
Tones of Evil.
Bye-bye.
Yes, thank you, Russell, there for those thoughts on the issue. I totally forgot that Moon Knight made that quip about only playing baseball or softball at night. I did laugh at that one myself. I think it's a very corny thing, and sometimes a very Englehart kind of like light character sort of writing, but I enjoyed that myself. Incidentally as well, the Avengers Defenders War, I'm not too clued in on that saga. I really am on the lookout for that epic collection. I think it's out of print, but I've always wanted to read it. So interesting comparison there. I always had compared it to the Contest of Champions, which I mentioned, I guess, was on there, reference in the editor's note. But no, thank you so much, Russell, and always good to hear from you. Always great to hear the Tomes of Evil podcast. And so, Loonies, be sure really to check out Russell's awesome podcast. He's like a bat out of hell. Plenty of episodes there on a lot of very different villains. But thank you so much for your thoughts on the annual. It was interesting, and of course, that Black Knight encounter. Oh, two of my favourites. Dare I say, I did enjoy that as Moon Knight won over Black Knight. Though that ebony blade, my God, that is one deadly weapon. So there you go, loony listeners. That was our discussion of West Coast Avengers annual. Such a great choice, Justin.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
It's a shame that we can't. Or maybe we can somehow. I don't. Oh, maybe you can do that as a Patreon exclusive or something. We can. I'd love to talk with you about Avengers Annual Issue 16, the second part to this.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. We'll
maybe we can. Maybe we can work on something there to get that happening.
Sure. Yeah. I would love that. Yeah, that'd be fun. Awesome. Fun to hear where you haven't read that story too. It'd be great to get your reactions to it.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
No, but a huge thank you for this. So, listeners, as you heard, thank you for everyone sending their feedback in. Highly regarded, 8 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10. It's worth it. As I mentioned, you can probably still read it on Marvel Unlimited. You can get the floppies if you can, but I've been reading it off the Epic Collection Volume 3 of West Coast Avengers, and both of them are in there consecutively, so it's really cool. So go check it out. So, Justin, if people would like to chat with you about the West Coast Avengers, about Steve Englehart, about Moon Knight and Black Knight, is there anywhere people can find you, contact you?
Well, I am on the ITK Facebook group. I can definitely be reached on there if people want to leave me a message. Sometimes I'll leave little comments on things, and people are definitely welcome to hit me up on there. I'm kind of in the midst of reactivating. I had a comic book blog for a while that I kind of let collect dust for a while. So I'm in the midst of reactivating that and getting that started. So eventually that I'll have some stuff with that. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for now. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And keep your ears and eyes peeled, loony listeners, for Justin's characters might be popping up in the ITK serial to come, The Rise of Set. Look out for Glennis Carpenter. That wacky operator. We'll see what happens. There's plenty more.
Yes, there's 4 others, and actually too, the patroonies are going to get an opportunity to directly vote on the fate of one of these characters.
How cool is that?
Kind of like in the 80s when we had the second Robin in DC, people could vote on his fate. It will kind of be like that same idea. So I'm excited about that, getting some involvement from the patroonies with one of these characters.
I'm excited to start using these characters, Justin. Should be a lot of fun. For sure. Next phase, Loonies. We've got 2 episodes coming up. One of them a bit of a milestone, so I'm not sure how to kind of work this. It will be episodes 199 and 200. We've reached 200.
Ooh, big milestones. Yeah.
So I know though, for sure, it will be a waning gibbous, which means it will be a moonwalk, and for those that don't know, that is where we kind of recreate a Moon Knight comic in audio form. So joining me on that will be the power of Chad. It'd be awesome to have him back, have a little chat with Chad as well. But also, I mean, episode 200, big things. We will be announcing our prize giveaway, so keep your eyes on the social medias there for all the details there. Get your... Well, actually, by the time this comes out, entries would have closed, so hopefully you would have got them in, and we'll be drawing that out on episode 200 as well. So yeah, plenty to look forward to. But keep your eyes peeled on our social media platforms. I'll come up with something for our episode 200. Hopefully, something will align. Praise Khonshu.
The stars will align properly. Yeah.
Yes. As always, please check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/ITK Moon Knight. Plenty of incentives there. Exactly as I mentioned, we may have a bonus episode there of, another issue. Have Justin back. I can put that there as an exclusive, plus plenty of others. So go check it out. Also, it's sponsored by Hello Headphones, as I mentioned. If you use the code ITK Moon Knight, you'll get 10% off their online store. And Dreamland Comics, if you use the code MOON, you'll get 20% off their store. We're also affiliated with Entertainment Earth, so all your action figure needs, just click the link in our show notes, and any purchase through that link will help the show as well. We're also part of the Collective, these fantastic groups. The likes of Russell's new podcast, Tomes of Evil. Yeah. Justin, you're going to weigh in, I've heard as well. Are you pretty keen?
Yeah. We're chatting about getting me a guest spot on the show.
Yes.
Very excited about that.
How cool is that? The ITK Scribes unite.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. We're going to chat about Moon Knight villains, but we're going to chat about, I think, some JSA villains too from DC. So I'm really excited about that.
Very cool. We'll keep your eyes out. Again, I'll shout these out. The Collective, a great bunch. So similar to the Tomes of Evil, the podcast about superhero villains. You get the likes of EMP, Earth's Mightiest Podcast, or Sons of the Dragon and Immortal Iron Fist Podcast, all part of the Collective. We're just an informal network. We like to help each other out, maybe collaborate, that sort of thing. Great bunch of people, great bunch of shows. Finally, you can contact us, email itkmoonnight@gmail.com. We're on Facebook on a page and group. We're on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Discord. Discord's going great guns. Drop in there. There's a lot of chat there. Get vocal. We've got a website as well as Podchaser. And incidentally, if you'd like to leave a rating on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser, it would be greatly appreciated. It'll help us kind of get out there a bit more. And any loonies who might be wanting to hear some podcast based on Moon Knight, that will reach out to them. So anyway, Justin, a huge thank you once again. Thanks for coming on during the week for 2 episodes.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me back on. It was definitely a pleasure, as always.
Oh, anytime. And as always, loony listeners, may Khonshu watch over the denizens of the night. Catch you later.
Take care.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.